Count it off, Mike. Let's go.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back. I'm Neil.
I'm Pat.
I'm Michael.
And this is the 411. We're covering everything football world. Boys, how are we doing this week?
Oh,
Wow.
let's go, boys. Oh, God. Neil, I'm doing so good. I got some news. So I don't know if you guys know who Quinn92 is, but
Oh,
he
yeah.
invited
Thank you.
I'm gonna be on his live video, his Instagram live on Tuesday. Super excited about that. I've already been on two friends. They're these DJs. I've already been on their Instagram lives. I've been having a great quarantine. Mike, how are you?
Well, basically, Pat is just a big deal. That's how I can sum it
Yeah,
up.
so pretty
Um,
much,
right.
Pat's the man.
I'm really just getting into the rotation of 2 pods a week. I'm loving it. I
Love
hope
it.
you guys are too. Drop a like right now if you are.
Like and subscribe. Come on.
Yeah, subscribe. Come on, give it everything. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Me too. So we have a special guest this week, Jamon McKinney, better known as Juice from the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. He's a student at the University of Toledo. Also, big fan of the 411. Mike, let's get Juice on here.
All right, I am trying right now. Hold on. All right, what's going on?
Not much, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
Of
no
course.
problem.
So,
Seriously.
boys, today we're going to hop into NFC South. So we're going to do now a little bit of analysis from last year. So what were the standings last year, comparing them to what do we think they're going to look like this year, especially given all of the new additions. Obviously, Tom going to the Bucks, Emmanuel Sanders going to the Saints. A lot of big moves in that division. It's going to be an interesting battle. Juice, take it away. What's your take?
As far as the Saints or the Bucks, or just
So
overall?
as far as let's start with the bottom. Let's go Falcons.
I feel like the Falcons. I was kind of hit and miss with them last year. I felt that they were not great. Now they did pick it up at the end of last year. The defense wasn't that good. The offensive line really, struggled at times to protect Matt Ryan. They really invested in the draft last year by moving up to get an offensive lineman. They drafted 2 offensive linemen in the first round. One of them got hurt and didn't really do anything for them. The offensive line was an issue. You still got Julio Jones. You still got Calvin Ridley. So they're going to be able to score some points if Matt Ryan plays his best football. But I don't know, man. I just feel like that Matt Ryan's kind of, past his prime. I think he's still a very good, solid quarterback. But I think he's kind of gone from being slightly, underrated to kind of a little overrated. But I still think Matt Ryan went on, is a pretty solid quarterback, but they kind of, rebooted this year. In the offseason, they, added Hayden Hurst. They just gave a second-round pick, I believe, for Hayden Hurst, second, third-round pick, something like that.
Pretty big asking price for a tight end to his third string on, the Ravens.
Yeah,
But look, I think you hit the hammer on the nail when you said about the injuries. Injuries really plagued this team last year. They cut Devontae Freeman, who for a while was injury-plagued, and now they got Todd Gurley, who is an even
Interesting
bigger
sign.
problem with his left knee. They got rid of Desmond Trufant, who was their anchor on defense. Let go of Vic Beasley. They replaced him with Dante Fowler, but that guy was there for a lot of money.
Just
And
a question.
Again, yeah, what's up?
Just a question for everybody. Do you think this is going to be a rebuilding year for them, or do you think they're actually going to be trying to get this team together and go for something?
I think they're going to try to be making a run at something. What do they have to lose? They have a lot of pieces on offense, and they have like Deion Jones on defense. They have some pieces that they can really start to kind of make a run at if they just have a special year. But, again, I think Matt Ryan, I agree. I think he's past his prime. I just think his numbers have gone down, had less yards, lower completion percentage, less touchdowns, more picks. I think he doubled his picks, actually. So I don't know how you can say that he's somehow going to be a better a better quarterback this year with a potentially worse team. This team cannot compete. They have a loaded division, didn't assess any of the holes in their team. They only have 6 picks this year, including 2 fourths and a 7th. Those can turn into the next Tom Brady, but I just don't see that happening. So, how much can you really do with that? And my phrase for kind of the Falcons just been maybe next year.
Yeah, I feel like put him in, to be honest, this is how I think about it. Put him in a different division,
They might have a
maybe.
shot, but there's
Right,
no way they're getting past.
It's a loaded
wild
division.
card at best, but there's no way they're going to beat, Tom Brady out for a wild card spot. No way.
I don't see it. I'm with you.
Anyone else?
I feel like that they're kind of a one-trick pony. They have to score a lot of points, win games. And that defense, the secondary is just not that good. They lost Vic Beasley. They added Dante Fowler, which is, he's a good player, but I don't see him being a dominant pass rusher.
Me
So
neither.
again, I feel like that if the Buccaneers potentially didn't add Tom Brady, if they still had Jameis Winston, who to me I think is still a very good quarterback, just turning the football over way too much for the Buccaneers. So they need to move on from him. But I just feel like the Falcons. I'd say they're probably gonna be around 8-8, maybe 9-7, maybe 7 wins.
I think that's even a stretch. I think
that's a
just
stretch.
Like the Packers. I know you're a Packers fan, but I think just like the Packers, they're always supposed to play like 12-4, 13-3, and they always underachieve. I think the Falcons are just like them ever since the infamous, 28-3 game.
I think the offense has some potential.
They were top 5 offense last year.
Gurley maybe reboots, and again, like I said, this team, last year they were kind of, getting better toward the end of the year. But again, I don't trust the Falcons. I don't trust Matt Ryan, particularly in the clutch anymore. I like the deal for Todd Gurley. I think that you take a chance on a guy that gets released by the Rams. Do it for 1 year. That's fine. What if he turns into his old self? That's a very good offense, But again, with the Saints, with the Buccaneers, they easily are the third most talented team in that division. And again, the Panthers, Teddy Bridgewater plays pretty well. I think that team can be a team that's very competitive. But again, I just don't see the Falcons really putting it all together. Again, maybe a wild card spot, but I don't see it. Probably 8-8, maybe 9-7. 7-9, probably something like that. So I don't see the Falcons.
Me too. And on that note, so I know Pat told me beforehand had kind of a scorching take regarding the Panthers. So
this might be
Pat,
like the biggest take in podcast history. Hold on.
So I want to just take it from here.
I want to hear.
So I want to start with the Panthers. 2 podcasts ago, I said that my sleeper of the entire year was the Panthers. I said I think they're going to do good. And I don't want to repeat myself with the same stuff. If you want to hear a little bit more about that, you can go to our NFL Sleepers podcast, right? One thing I've already said with the dual threat of Samuel and Moore. How do we feel about that? Are we confident in that? And will it play a part in deciding this division?
Curtis Samuel is not a number 2 receiver on most teams. I don't even think he has the talent to be a number 2 receiver. I think he had, 700 yards last year, maybe 650. I don't think he's going to make a jump from 650 to maybe 1,100 in 1 year, or maybe even 800.
But if DJ Moore continues to improve, and that I think that leaves Samuel open to have some.
But if DJ Moore continues to improve, he's going to get more looks.
And the addition of Robbie Anderson as well will also open up.
I think it's just going to be more of a crowded offense. Your number 1 playmaker is Christian McCaffrey. If he's getting 30 to 35 catches a game, and then you have Robbie Anderson as your deep threat, DJ Moore as your possession guy, where does Curtis Samuel fit in? Your once in a while big play, maybe. That's what he was last year.
How is the defense has to cover? And it gives Bridgewater an extra.
But that's what Robbie Anderson's going to be. Robbie Anderson already moves into that number 2 spot.
He'll have those 3 receivers plus McCaffrey, who had 1,000, I think it was 1,005 receiving yards last year. So he, in and of himself, can act as a receiver.
So McCaffrey's a 1,000-yard receiver. DJ Moore could be a 1,000-yard receiver. Teddy Bridgewater is a solid quarterback at best. How do you think he's going to get McCaffrey 1,000 yards, DJ Moore at 1,000 yards, Robbie Anderson is 800, and Curtis Samuel getting a step up from his 650? I don't see that at all.
The receivers won't have big numbers because there's so many of them, but they'll be able to produce for the team equally. So,
But you said that Curtis Samuel is going to make a big step, and I don't know how you can say that with a crowded offense.
I agree that there's a crowded offense, Michael. I'm just saying that whether that new threat to complement DJ Moore be Robbie Anderson or Curtis Samuel, it's going to leave one of them open because teams are going to game plan for
Robbie
DJ
Anderson,
Moore.
not DJ.
I feel like that Teddy Bridgewater is going to kind of just spread the ball around. I think that DJ Moore is more of a number 2. I think that he's a lower end number 1. Again, Curtis Samuel, he's a solid player, but again, I don't see him being a huge threat. He's a big play threat. He's got some speed. He can go deep. But again, I just feel like the Panthers, they're rebuilding. It's pretty obvious. Once they, said that Ron Rivera was going to be gone and they fired him, that team looked like a college team. They really were not that good at the end of the year. They lost to the Redskins.
8-game losing streak to end out the season.
Kyle Allen was just not that good for them last year. I think that Teddy Bridgewater is a very solid quarterback, but again, he's going from New Orleans town to Carolina Panthers town. So look, they're in a rebuilding year. Will they trade it for a quarterback potentially? They got the number 7 overall pick. Personally, I don't think so. They brought in PJ Walker from the XFL, who to me is sort of a project level player. You would sort of treat him like a Joe Burrow, like a Tua Tagovailoa as a prospect. Kind of like a draft prospect to maybe develop into something. But again, I don't quite see it. I think they're probably going to give Bridgewater a year or two to be that bridge gap quarterback while they're rebuilding, while Matt Rule is building a culture. I believe in Matt Rule. I do believe if you're a Panthers fan, you should be a little bit patient because eventually I do believe Matt Rule can turn that team around. But again, they're probably the third or fourth most talented team in that division. And I think they're going to be very competitive. I think that Matt Rule is going to come in there and establish a good culture. But again, I don't see them winning the whole
I think that's the key. They're establishing a culture right now.
Want to say about the team in general. You have the dual threat of, as Michael would like to say, Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore.
I like Robbie Anderson.
Right. Mm-hmm. You have Teddy Bridgewater, who has proven himself to be a leader. And you have Christian McCaffrey, one of the best running backs in the league.
If not the best.
Let's flash back to the 2015 Super Bowl.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
With Cam Newton, right?
That was a special year.
A very special year. This 2020 team is a breath of fresh air for two reasons. Let's think back to that Super Bowl, right? It was majorly an offensive Panthers versus a defensive Broncos, right? I remember watching that game perfectly. Of course, this proves that the Panthers defense was good enough to get them to the game, but it definitely wasn't their strongest suit. So meaning that the Panthers have gotten it done. First of all, the Panthers defense right now is lackluster to say the least. They need to make some serious additions in the draft, and I think that will come. They're going to have probably some kind of pass rusher as one of their picks. So let's think about this. So who was on this so-called high-powered offense? It was at the time explosive Cam Newton, Greg Olsen, and Jonathan Stewart, who was more or less kind of past his prime. He was on kind of the end of his career. So when I think of those two things, why does the 2020 offense sound better than the 2015 offense?
Because they had a hell of a defense.
The defense.
They had an unreal
You had Cam Newton, who was playing like an MVP. I mean,
true.
Yeah.
He's very true.
He's very good. He was very
Didn't
good.
he win MVP that year or the year prior or something? Yeah.
He was the MVP that year.
But think about
Teddy
it like this.
Bridgewater is not an MVP quarterback. I don't even
Not
think
at
he's
all.
a top 15 quarterback.
Not at all. Joe could be.
They won't.
You know who could be an MVP? Christian McCaffrey.
Running back, quarterback. Quarterback is way more important than a running
that
back.
last year?
What's that?
Remember when you said Christian McCaffrey was going to be?
I remember.
Yeah.
But he could have, dude.
I will
It's just-
bleach my
He
hair.
was a candidate for a while. He tailed off, but he was a candidate for a while.
He was
Yeah.
100% a candidate. So if you have an MVP candidate in your offense, MVP candidate Cam Newton, MVP candidate
But
Christian
as a
McCaffrey.
running back, dude, if you have a crazy wide receiver tandem with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Curtis Samuel, and you have an average quarterback at Teddy Bridgewater, how are the wide receivers going to be able to excel if they don't have a MVP quarterback to get it to them?
I don't think you need an MVP quarterback.
I think the Panthers do, given the defensive situation. I don't think Christian McCaffrey is going to carry this team. They lost the last 8 games of the year last year, which is where McCaffrey had some of his best games.
And,
So
and
even
this
when
is,
he's playing at his best, the defense still can't hold up other teams.
and
Yeah,
this
it's
is
good.
and personally, I
Not
think
the
this
same
is
Panthers defense. They lost Luke Kuechly too, who was a big leader for that defense. So, I mean,
Exactly.
I like Brian Burns. He has some potential. He showed a lot of flashes as a rookie, but again, I don't think the Panthers have a complete team to really compete. I mean,
Not at all.
Christian McCaffrey's good, no doubt. He's very good. I think that Teddy Bridgewater is one of the more solid quarterbacks in the NFL. But again, I don't know if he's elite. He's definitely not
But
elite.
what have
I don't
we
think he's
seen from
elite.
Bridgewater? I think our image of Bridgewater is being so clouded.
Well, he had a
because
good year in Minnesota a couple years ago. He led them
Yeah,
to the title.
but then last year he's in a loaded Saints offense, faces the bottom 5 schedule in the NFL, has a core of the game plan, and is playing with the likes of Michael Thomas, the best wide receiver in the league, and
He was more
Alvin
of a game
Kamara,
man.
who's
He was
like a
more-
top 10, top 5 running back.
He
When
was
you
more
go
of a
to
He was definitely more of a game manager. He wasn't carrying the team.
yes, no doubt. So I don't think you can go to the Panthers, who have a worse O-line, a better running back, but probably a worse number 1 receiver in DJ Moore, and think that he's going to do and he's going to do better. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't know how you can say that the Panthers, they will get better than 5-11. They'll probably go 7-9, 8-8. I don't know how you can say this team's gonna be a playoff team.
I think they're not going to win the division. First of all, if they get into the playoffs, it's going to be wild card. I don't know. We'll see.
7 seed, lucky.
All I'm saying is that this defense could build to the draft. I think this defense, there are some decent candidates.
They've only got
Derek
7
Brown?
picks.
Maybe Derek Brown is there at number 7.
Isaiah Simmons
Yeah.
out of Clemson, too.
He's not gonna be there
Good
at
fall.
7.
Good fall. I mean, if the Giants take offensive tackle with the number 4 overall pick, then Simmons probably would drop. Then again, do the Chargers pass on them? I mean, they might take a quarterback. They might not. There's been some reports that they're comfortable with Tyrod Taylor. So, I mean, it all depends on what happens with the Giants and what the Lions try to do, because I think the Lions, they might try to trade
They can
down.
go for Jeffrey Okudah.
They're
Yeah,
I think they'll go with Jeffrey Okudah.
I think so.
I don't understand personally. I don't know why Lions fans – I like Jeffrey Okudah a lot, but I think Isaiah Simmons is the way to go. But, that's what they want to do. Knock your socks off, Matt Patricia. Hey, whatever.
Yeah.
My thing, so the second thing with the Panthers is that I do feel like Teddy Bridgewater as a quarterback is a breath of fresh air for them. Because you got to think about Cam Newton, who was a little flashy. He was a little, he was Cam Newton. So, I mean, and then you take a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, in a thing he was asked to be like, oh, like, how are your scores, like, your personal stats? And he was like, those mean nothing to me. He's majorly a team player. And when you're 8 years old and you love football and you're watching Super Bowl 50 and you watch Cam Newton dive away from that key fumble, to me that doesn't show a leader. What do you guys think about that?
I don't think Cam Newton was a good leader at all. But I don't think that Teddy Bridgewater is any better as a leader.
I do, and I think I agree with what Pat said in that Teddy Bridgewater is a lot less egotistical, very less likely to become that cancer in the locker room, as we talked about time and time again. But I think Bridgewater, given the position, obviously he had the weapons in New Orleans last year and didn't completely lead the team, but he led the team to a degree. I mean, he's the quarterback, and I think this year in Carolina, he'll really show some signs of the fact that he can lead a football team.
I disagree. I 1,000% disagree. I don't think he's
Really?
capable of doing it. He had a better tight end, better wide receiver, better O-line, better
Agree.
defense, better
Agree.
coach. When you have all those things, you cannot lose when we're playing with a quarter of the playbook and the bottom 5 teams in the NFL or the bottom 10 teams. I could win a few games as quarterback. Anybody can win. I just don't think you can go to a worse system, potentially, Matt Rule could be good, but a worse coach, worse O-line, worse receivers, and think that you're going to lead this team to even be 8-8 against a relatively hard schedule.
I actually see the Panthers being competitive. I see 6-10 probably. I think they're going to be competitive.
But you have to travel and play the Buccaneers twice and the Saints twice. Those
I
are
agree.
4 losses right there.
Not necessarily.
I'm not saying they're going to be good. I'm just saying they're gonna
Necessarily.
be competitive. That's all I'm saying. I don't think they're going to be good. They're not going to be a contender.
All right.
Competitive.
So let's dive in. Tom Brady and the Bucs.
Yeah.
What are we thinking? Michael, dive into this one.
Well, I actually don't have a lot because
Okay.
I want to hear all from you about this. But I think, in my opinion, we're getting to the more interesting teams.
Yep.
Besides signing Brady, I know it's a big like besides, it's the highlight of like the decade of signings, but they didn't make any crazy moves. I mean, they signed like some depth offensive tackle. They let go of Rashad Perryman. I don't know where. Not sure entirely where he went, but he's a solid receiver. But I wanted to get into some of the rumors that are kind of brewing right now. There's a rumor that Rob Gronkowski, ex-Patriot, probably future Hall of Famer, is strongly considering a return to the NFL to go to the Buccaneers to play with Tom
So he can
Brady.
go from 2 brain cells to 1 remaining.
Yeah, no. won't
So
happen.
my initial thoughts, I want to see what your initial thoughts are.
My initial thoughts
is it
are-
a big deal? Anything? What is it?
My initial thoughts are, I think this is probably just a rumor. It could happen. I
don't know. He wants to play.
just hope he doesn't go into announcing like Jason Witten, because that was torture.
Yeah, that was awful.
That's all I got on
He
that.
already did announce last year. He was on like Sunday Night Football a few times. He
Gronk?
wasn't bad. Yeah.
Juice, what are your thoughts?
On the Buccaneers?
Just on Gronk.
Oh, Gronk. I don't think Gronk returns. I think that Gronk is into the broadcasting. They already got 2 very good tight ends. I think that O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate are pretty good. Obviously not a prime Rob Gronkowski, but, I mean, it's one of the best tight end groups in all of football. So, I mean, I don't think they really need to pull the trigger on Gronk. I think it's a smoke screen. I don't see it.
I don't know.
I think O.J. Howard is extremely overhyped. Maybe Brady's a little bit better because he plays well with tight ends, but
I think O.J. Howard's a great player.
I think he's overhyped, but I think that he's still a very solid tight
And
end.
Cameron Brate caught
You
for
don't
like
need to reach for
400 yards
Rob
last
Gronkowski.
year.
How good is Gronk going to be when he comes back? I mean, is he going to be in shape anymore?
When you're 31 years old and you got a year, under your belt from being able to recover, I think that does a lot, especially to Gronk.
He was very injury prone.
I definitely see this team finishing 10-6 at second place. I I think Tom and this offense are really going to start adapting to each other. And I think Tom being given these weapons is really going to help him this season. Bruce Arians said, I think a week ago, that Tom will know this offense in 2 days, in like 2 days. This is obviously kind of an exaggeration, but it shows the confidence that Arians has in the fact that, all right, we're going to bring in this 42-year-old veteran that's been doing it, his way for years, and I think he's going to be fine adjusting to the system.
I just feel like we're all First of all, I'm a Patriots fan until I die. But we're all forgetting how much of a very meh year Brady had last year. Look, he's got new weapons. He's got new receivers, much better than the Patriots do. No doubt about that. He's still 40, what, 2?
He's going to be 43 in August.
43 in August. He'll be 43 this season. Is anything really going to change?
I think something will change.
I do too. I feel like he's going to have more weapons, but he's still 43. I don't know.
All right, so I'm gonna say this right now. I made a video about a month or two ago saying that the Buccaneers were one of the 4 up-and-coming teams in the NFL. So I'm not just jumping on the Buccaneers bandwagon because Tom Brady's there. I felt this team was on the rise already. And I felt that next year, if Jameis cuts down his turnovers, this team could be a playoff team. And ultimately, I'm gonna go to the defense actually because I think the defense is one of the most underrated units in all of football. Probably the most underrated unit in all of football. Okay, Levante David. Devin White.
The run defense, not the pass defense.
Run defense is very good. The front seven, I like it. I like, what's his name? Vita Vea. Yeah, Vita Vea. He's very good. And Ndamukong Suh, very good defensive tackle. Maybe they add Javon Kinlaw. Maybe they add a defensive lineman in the draft. We shall see. I really like Shaq Barrett. He had a career year. JPP, career year. So they got very good defensive front with the D tackles, 2 good edge rushers, 2 good linebackers. Now, the secondary is a question, I will admit. The secondary does need some work, but again, if they add another cornerback or 2 in the draft, maybe, I think this team can maybe take a step. And let's not forget, these guys are young. They've been drafting these guys for a while. They've been drafting defensive backs. Maybe they pan out this year. We shall see. So I will admit the secondary is a little bit shaky. But I will say, Tom Brady, I feel like he's got something to prove this year, man. I really do. They may not win the division, but I think that they could potentially go further than the Saints, and I might trust them more than the Saints in the playoffs. Simply because
trust them more than the Saints in the wow.
That's a hot take.
That's a hot take,
man.
But I just think, you have to play against quarterbacks of the likes of Drew Brees. I know what I said about Teddy B, but he's still in the division. Teddy B and Matt Ryan. Those are 3 pretty solid quarterbacks, and you have to travel and play them 6 times. Now, can that Bucs defense compete with the likes of those quarterbacks? My quick answer is no.
Can those teams keep up with that high-powered offense is my question. Now, I will say this. I think that
the Saints can. I know for sure the Saints can, and the Falcons probably can too. They had a top 5 offense last year.
Yeah, I don't like that Falcons defense. And Matt Ryan's going to choke it away when he gets a chance. And I don't see it,
postseason, not the regular season.
Dude, also,
he hasn't made the playoffs in like 2 seasons. So what's he doing?
Is that Falcons defense really that special?
Falcons defense is not that
I'm not saying it is. I just said earlier, I think the defense is awful.
A dream scenario for the Buccaneers, I think, is if they can add Henry Ruggs to that wide receiver.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
You get Henry Ruggs with Mike Evans.
No, that would be a cheat code.
Whoa, that'd be great. I mean, they got some great tight ends. That's the one thing Tom Brady was complaining about in New England was, I didn't have weapons. And I will admit, Tom Brady, there was some blame to be had on him. He missed some throws. He wasn't his best. He's not, Patrick Mahomes. He's not, running around making a bunch of plays like he used to. He's still a very good quarterback. I think he's still top 10. But, I mean, he's not elite anymore. He's probably borderline elite, still above average. But, again, I think if you give Tom Brady those weapons, I think he's got something to prove. He said a couple weeks ago that I'm going to prove to myself that I can do this. And I think that he's going to –
you have to prove. He won 6 Super Bowls.
I don't think he has anything to prove to anyone but himself, like I said. And I think that he's –
Yeah, agreed.
Guys, it's like, I'm leaving Bill Belichick. Let's show Bill Belichick that, hey.
I was just going to say, I think most of it has to be because he's away from Belichick now. So he's got to show the world, hey, I can win without Bill. That's my take.
So let's quickly touch upon Saints. So my prediction for the Saints is they finish out on top again. They were actually the only team in the NFC South last year with a winning record at 13-3. I think they dropped to 12-4 this year. So they went 6-2 at home last year. I see them losing to Niners at home, Chiefs at home, and then away losses to both the Bucs and the Broncos. And I think if anyone has a shot to beat the Saints, it's Tom Brady and the Bucs in Tampa. I also see Breeze choking in Mile High. The Broncos are 9-2 all time against the Saints. Five of those 9 wins came in Denver, and Breeze personally is 2-8 all time against Denver.
I think the Broncos are very underrated.
Agreed. Random fun fact: Breeze suffered his first major pro injury against the Broncos in 2005. It was this brutal shoulder hit from Gerard Warren just because the guy was pissed off. It was a ridiculous hit. But yeah, that's all I got on Saints.
I think this team goes.
What was your take?
My take? I mean, I think the Saints are loaded, man. I think that they addressed some of their biggest issues in the offseason. You know, the one thing that I kept preaching, you know, in my videos that I made was that the Saints, they needed someone else to compliment Michael Thomas. I mean, I think that Drew Brees is still very good, but maybe doesn't have quite the juice, I would say, come postseason time. You know, I understand that they kind of got, you know, robbed versus the Rams last year. But, again, Drew Brees did not play well in that second half. They allowed the Rams to stay around in that game, and Drew Brees just couldn't get it done in the clutch. And this past year versus the Vikings, I mean, Kirk Cousins, he could win a big game to save his life, and he marked us right in there and says, hey, Drew Brees, I'm going to beat you. So, I mean, you know, I feel like the Saints, they addressed their biggest issue. You know, they needed a number 2 wide receiver. Emmanuel Sanders, excellent addition. Jared Cook, he was playing really well at the end of the year. You know, he had some chemistry issues with Drew Brees early in the season, I would say. They really started getting things going toward the end of the year. And, again, the Saints, they were right there, man. They were 13-3. Had they have beaten the 49ers at home, they'd probably get that 1 seed and probably march to the Super Bowl. Now, I don't know if they would have been able to keep up with Mahomes in that offense, but either way, I think the Saints are going to be right there. They probably will win the division because I think they're a little bit better right now than the Buccaneers on paper. The Buccaneers have some holes to fill up. I do think the Buccaneers could close that gap in the draft potentially, but again, I don't know. I just feel like there's always something that's going to go wrong with the Saints. I really do. I think they could use another cornerback to complement Jenkins and Marshawn Lattimore, but again, it's a loaded roster, and if Drew Brees is about that life, they'll get it done. I really think so.
They brought back everyone.
This is his last opportunity because we saw at the end of the year he kind of was struggling a little bit. So, again,
definitely.
Tom Brady's older, but Drew Brees is still older as well. So, that's how I feel about that.
Yeah. All right, Juice. Thanks for coming on,
Thanks
man.
so much, Juice.
Yeah, no problem, man.
This is
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, boys.
I think we just about wrapped up.
Boys, very nice. Click it up, boys. Get it in there. Let's go.
I'm Neil.
I'm Pat.
I'm Michael.
And we'll see you next time.
Oh.
It's all right.